Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. In this Marvel Contest of Champions video, I'm going to be talking about the newest science champion added to the contest, and that of course is Spot. He is a pretty unusual champion. While he does have some familiar aspects to the science class that we all know and love, including rupture damage, big red damage, the ability to have buff immunity for parts of the fight, he does really have his own thing going on here, and primarily it's the fact that he has like this crazy miss mechanic where he can just be completely invulnerable and miss all attacks for large portions of the fight. And additionally, the newest mechanic that they added to the game, which is called portal block. He opens up a portal in front of him, which essentially makes him unstoppable, and as you take blocked hits into it, you not only gain block proficiency, but you also will ramp up the amount of spots that he has, which leads to some other nice things and getting to the rest of his kit. So, you know, overall, I do think that he's a very cool design, and he does sort of lack some of the things that we want modern science champions to have, like power control and, you know, healing control and like lots and lots of debuffs. He really only has the damaging debuffs. But overall, I do think that he sort of makes up for that by being a bursty damage champ, by having the ability to, you know, block hits for days for the most part. He can even resist some unblockable and heavy attacks and things like that. But with it, let's get into his abilities here. The portal block, you know, when you are on offense, you're going to be holding block, and a half second later, you get this portal in front of you, and then you're going to start taking hits into that. One thing to note is that the first spot that you gain, you do not have this large block proficiency bonus on you, so you will be taking some chip damage throughout the fight. But once you get that first spot and you start getting subsequent spots, you will have a lot of block proficiency. You want to get to about 5, and then we're going to look over here where it says becoming untouchable. If you take a basic hit while you have 5 spots that you just built up, then you're basically going to miss all attacks for a very long time. And then as you alternate attacks with the opponents, you miss, they miss you, you hit them, you're going to be gaining ruptures, and then there's a little timer slash counter thingy that is going to be counting how many lifetime ruptures you've had in the middle of this fight, and then that is going to be the thing that ramps up your special 2. So, you know, the most basic rotation with him is to be doing all the things I just said. You ramp up the amount of ruptures, and then you get to the special 2 and you detonate for a large amount of physical damage. Now, his awakened ability opens up a couple other ways to get damage. Like if you bait a heavy or a special right before throwing the special 2, you're going to get a fury. Mine's only sig 20, and I did find that it was a little difficult to always nail that to get the fury on. But we're going to see in the gameplay that he really gets tons of damage without it. The special 1 is for utility. It gives you a buff immunity debuff on yourself, so you get that great ability that champs like Spider-Man 2099 have, where you will not be proccing buffs. It's pretty nice. It lasts for enough time that you can chain these together. If you want to sacrifice damage at the beginning of the fight and just be chaining special 1s, you can basically have permanent buff immunity. It's really nice. Additionally, this is an ability that you can transfer to the other science champions on your team with this pre-fight ability. You know, I'd love to see someone like Scorpion, who is an amazing science champ but doesn't have buff immunity, see if he can benefit from this pre-fight ability called Foul Play, where during the fight, when the opponent is knocked down, the science teammates that has this on them will go buff immune. It's the same way for 3 seconds. So, you know, there may be some instances where if you're running 2 science champions on the same team, that this can come in handy, make that mojo just a little bit easier for Scorpion, etc. But with that, I think that's all we're going to go over for now. As with many champions, it's always easier to see this stuff in practice. So we're going to get into some gameplay, and I hope you enjoy it. Here we go. Alright, so first up, no surprise, we're going up against the Deadpool in Act 6. Now, they did recently nerf this guy's health, but I do actually think it's nice now because he has about as much health as a battlegrounds opponent. So let's see how viable this guy is in battlegrounds. Can we kill him with 1 special 2? So we're holding block, getting portal block, taking some blocked hits. We get to the number 5 of the spots, then we activate untouchable by taking a basic hit into the miss. We're just alternating hits, like somewhere between 1 and 3, letting him retaliate. And even in that one cycle, we get over 20 ruptures, which is pretty awesome. So I'm considering just finishing with the special 2. We need him to come into our block. You have to be very careful to not get hit by heavies, because you will often resist them, but not always. So now we get that nice fury because we punished a heavy attack. If I was really smart, I would have thrown the special 2 a little bit earlier to get the benefit of that fury. But even though I forgot to do that, it basically kills him, and we just do a stand-up intercept and he goes down. So that is a 45-second fight, 150k health. I have a feeling this guy's going to be good in battlegrounds. I'm just saying. You do notice that we do take a little bit of block damage, so you're never going to finish with 100% health, but the trade-off is that they go down very, very quickly. So next up, this is another pretty generic fight. There's going to be a little bit of regen, a little bit of unblockable, but we do have class advantage here. And you know, Purgatory has some slightly annoying specials to deal with. She can back you up. So you know, we have to be careful with all this like taking of the blocked hits and everything to not get too backed up. But so far the fight is looking exactly the same. She goes unblockable, but we don't care because we're missing every hit. Now we're going to bait this special and you know, just have to be a little wary of the unblockable. We get our portal block back. The one thing I like about the portal block is that unlike a lot of mechanics in the game, like, you know, Crossbones getting his furies, Civil Warrior getting their furies, additionally champs like, you know, Hood with the, you know, dashing back and holding block, his portal block basically will just happen straight off of just holding block. You don't have to dash back first. And also you can refresh it, like if your portal block's about to end, you can lift block and then reapply it again. So I do really like that because I don't really like mechanics where you have to dash back first. You just end up getting yourself backed up. So we can see that right there she threw that special 2 into our block, and because we had the block proficiency up, we barely took any of it. We did take a hit earlier, but aside from that, this has been going very smoothly. I remember trying to do this fight with Scorpion, and it actually took more attempts than it did with Spot. Not saying that he's better than Scorpion, but as I was learning Scorpion versus as when I was learning Spot, I did find that Spot came pretty naturally. Once again, we don't care about this unblockable because we're totally good, and I'm hoping that this special 2 will finish her the rest of the way, and it certainly does. So just another example of how he can, you know, kind of negate some of the more annoying mechanics of opponents, like big block damage on special 2s and unblockable. We sort of worked it out that we were always in our missing sort of untouchable phase anytime we needed to deal with that unblockable. But that is a pretty darn good showing from a nice science champion. This next fight, I'm not going to show the whole fight because they're going to start to look exactly the same, but I did want to showcase that he does have the buff immunity off of the special 1, and you don't always have to go for the special 2s. If you throw your special 1, even though we started this fight exactly like the other ones, we get this nice debuff on us. Because it's a debuff, it's going to heal us. There's also some armor breaks associated with this Act 7 node, so just don't mind those. I'm mostly showing this because it's just sort of a generic man thing, and we want to not get poisoned. And in order to do that, we're going to have to keep spamming our special 1. But in general, we're just sort of playing him as you would with any champion like Kitty Pryde or Hood. When they have miss, you can be a little bit more aggressive and just know that the miss is there as a safety net. But we are sticking with our special 1s because then we get the buff immunity for 10 seconds. You can make it go up to 20 seconds if you have 10 spots, but I found for the most part you're not going to want to bring them to 10 spots, like usually 5 or just a little bit above 5, and cycling the untouchables is usually pretty good practice. Now Man-Thing is going to have resistance against crits, but he does not have any kind of like physical resistance, so this is going to be doing a lot of damage off of that special 2. He's still pretty tanky though, so he doesn't go down. The next thing I want to show is, look, we do have a postule on us. So if we activate our special 1, I want to have you watch that little postule just disappear because we get the buff immunity as we go. So here we go. We're about to throw a special 1 and the buff goes away. It was about to expire anyway, but you did see that it sort of like cleanses the buff off of you. So yeah, going up against Mojos and Man-Things, or, you know, in war, if there's like Mystic Dispersion or something, you can avoid all of that stuff by using the buff immunity. And like I said, it's a debuff, so it's going to be able to heal you. And finally, we're coming to the close of this video. We've got Safeguard, which is always annoying, but he's going to easily bypass that with his red damage. And this has a pretty annoying Paradox node on it as well. This was one of the fights I chose to use Scorpion on as well during my Scorpion video. And the reason that he's good here is, you know, we're able to block like special 2s and not take a ton of damage from them. In fact, I even get a little bit too happy with my block in this one, and I probably take more damage than I can because I wanted to kind of test the limit of his block. So because this has a Paradox node, we need to get to like 15 or 20 combo before we can start playing him normally. We need to get the Paradox number over 3 so that then we can actually do some damage. Ironically, the thing that reduces your Paradox is intercepting. So right there, we took that whole thing into block, and I probably should have dexed out of the last hit, but either way, man, that was pretty cool that we took that whole thing to block, and it didn't do that much damage. So now we're gonna probably throw a special 2. Like I said, the intercepting is the thing that's gonna reduce the Paradox, so we have to be a little careful there. But mostly I just wanted to kind of showcase this fight, that he can get around Safeguard, that he can deal with really annoying projectiles into the block off of Punisher 99 like that. Here we go, ramping up our spots. Again, we're gonna block. And that time I was smart enough to dash out at the end. You can see that those projectiles really didn't do that much damage. Once again, we get to Untouchable, managing the Paradox very well. There we were able to be risky because we had the Untouchable on. And if we can get another cycle off, then we should be able to get off a big special 2. So here we go, spot number 1, spot number 2, hold block, spot number 3, 4. We need him to hit our block one more time. There he goes. Now we can run into him, throw our special 2, and we have a decent amount of the ruptures that come up here. Notice that when you throw a special 2, they go back down to 0. Like, once again, they max out at 50, but you can build up that stack again. Once again there, we've been taking so many hits in block, and we're still doing fine in this fight. Obviously a lot of chip damage, but I did feel like I was in control of this fight the entire time. And at that point, we actually resist a heavy, so that's another nice little ability that he has, and I'm pretty sure this special 2 is going to take him down. So again, I did that fight with Scorpion in my video that showcased Scorpion. I'm not sure who's better. I think I ended with slightly more health with Spots. They both bring different types of utility into the fight. So that's all the gameplay that I put together. I think, as you can see, he has a pretty particular style. You do have to kind of stick to the same rotation, and there's a little bit of utility thrown in there. I'm not super impressed with the block proficiency because, like I said, you do always need to be taking a few blocked hits before the spots really ramp up. So he's going to be one of those like general questers, I think, who can finish fights quickly, take a little bit of chip damage, and he's probably going to be absolutely fine for you for questing and really fun to play and super unique. I do think he's going to have a bit of a niche in battlegrounds. Any of those types of champions that can ramp up relatively quickly, throw one big special 2, and basically knock out the opponent are going to have value in battlegrounds. And I'm sure he will be a little annoying on defense as people are learning how to fight him. So overall, I do think he's going to be a very good champion that's been added to the game. I really have just been loving these 2022 champs so far. There have been no duds as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, that's my initial thoughts on him. Let me know if you have any questions, if you want to see anything else on the CCP server with this guy. I do really like him. He's a lot of fun. And I actually would like to test the maximal end of his damage. I'm sure if you were running the recoil masteries and you max sigged him so the fury was even bigger, and you were a little bit better than I was about making sure the fury is active before the special 2, you can be dishing out some unreasonably high damage. So it's definitely there. We didn't super see it in my video, but I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless, and you have a great day. So thanks for checking it out, and I'll catch you in the next one.